put this in our GitHub stuff. Is it? Okay, I will remove these pictures. I don't like them here. I don't want them. Where is it? Where are the pictures? Okay, I think that should be from our CSS. Sorry, I wish it together. I just want to say some things out here.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, I think I prefer this now. So in this page, we actually did some CSS styling here. You can see that, and remember we used our JavaScript to control this using onClick event method. Now we want to achieve the same thing using JQuery now. So instead of, let me go back to our HTML here. Sorry. Instead of using onClick here now, onClick, toggle button, mobile links. So how can we achieve this same thing using what's it called now, JQuery? So I will remove this guy here now, and once I remove this guy, it won't be working again. So let's go to our web page again, refresh it. I see that nothing is happening as I'm clicking on this guy here. So now let's go back to implement it with our jQuery. So inside this document.ready now, I'll write a function there. Okay, if I want to write a function, that if I want to run a function directly. But what I want to do now is that I want to query that element by ID directly, which will be this menu here. Okay, so inside my, where is it? Okay, I will now put that ID here as menu, just like the way you access it in your CSS file. Then dot click. Now this is the event we're actually calling when you were using dot on click. So what you just remove from there is just your on. If you want to use key up event too, you use key up. The only thing that will make this a little bit different from the one you are calling from your HTML page is that on word that is joined to this event name. So if you are doing maybe key down on blur, you know, normally inside our HTML tag you use on blur. So in this case, this one will just be blur, and if you are using on click, this way will just be click. So after that, you just put your bracket there. Then the function you want to run now, that's your what, our toggle function. So in this case now, you know, remember I've copied that method from that page now. So just call your method here now, it will work. So let's see what happens now. Now you can see that the guy is running directly. There's a problem there. Why is he running directly? Because I'm calling this, I'm invoking this method the way I put it directly inside here. So how do we solve this problem? The way to solve this problem is to run a function inside. Just create an arrow function here, and inside the arrow function put it here like this, and it will not be running directly again. Okay, nice one. You can see that when I click, it didn't show. Can you see that? So which means that what, instead of going to our page to be using on click, on blur, on key up, on key down, we can actually use our jQuery to do the same thing. So I'll just select I will put an ID there, and if you don't want to use an ID, maybe you want to use a class. You know, here now we have ID, we have class. Probably you want to create a unique class here instead of, okay, maybe we have, let's say menu icon, and this is what we want to use as our class name here. We just copy this class and go down and change this place to, instead of that menu ID there, you put this way. Now mind you, I use what, dot menu icon. I don't know if this screen is good enough. What's happening? Sorry. Okay, I think it should boot now. So I use dot menu icon here, and why did I use dot menu icon? is because I'm accessing a class. I'm actually selecting using class selector here instead of the ID selector, and I added dots before the menu icon. Just the way you are accessing your class in your CSS is the same way you put it here in your jQuery. The same way you are accessing your ID in your CSS is the same way you put it here in your jQuery, and ensure it's in between these double quotes here. So when you do that, you run your function inside it and you call your method, then it will perform whatever things you want it to do. So there are other interesting libraries with jQuery. Now take for example you want to do toggle, like this toggle we wrote for ourselves here, toggle menu here. And what is inside our toggle menu here? This is here. Now what are we using it for? That when user click on it, you should either do this or do this. There is a function or method in jQuery that is called toggle. Let me list out many of the some of those methods for us. We have fade in. No, I will not start with this. We have toggle. We have hide. These things are all methods. Then we have show. Then we have fade in, if you are actually trying to fade something in and out, a kind of animation. Fade out. Then we have another one called for animation now. Sorry. Okay. Slide. We have slide down. We have slide up. We have slide left. We have slide right. You can see that, and we have other ones that you can even use to add things to your element. But let's just look at this guy here now and see how it happens, how it works. So this, to access this toggle here now, what you will do, take for example now I want to toggle. Now this hide and show, the method is just to hide an element from your view instead of using display null, like the way we've always been doing. Display property equal to null, that's when you are using your get element by ID and you put the style the display equal to null. Instead of doing all those things, you don't need it again. What you just do, you select, okay, let me just do something here. Let me I will use this particular click event to hide this header content. So what I will do is that I will copy this guy here, header content, and I will paste it inside this method here. Sorry. So as this guy is toggling, I also want to run another method, another function here. So I will use my query selector. Then mind you, what I just copied now is a class, so I have to put it like a class selector. And after that, what I want to do, I want to hide it whenever I click. Okay, let's use toggle first. I want to toggle. Now do you see that? Now let's see what will happen with that. Oh, we won't see the effect. Okay, let me add a color to it so that we'll be able to see the effect. Okay, background color, then I'll put this guy. Okay, now can you see that what the content is hidden now when I click on it? Okay, let me click on this guy again. You can see it's back. I click on it, it hide it. When I click on it again, it shows it. Now that's what toggle does. It will actually toggle between display null and display block, just the way you have been using the display equal to null and display equal to block. So this is what these toggle methods do. And if you want it to be just to hide, so this hide will hide it forever until you do another thing to close it. Probably now, okay, let's Okay, let me just leave this one now and check it for you. Now when I click on this guy here, the thing is hidden. As I'm clicking on this guy, the guy is not back because what I have hidden it. So now to show it now, I can now do another method. Now mind you, we use another method to close our nav bar from the left side too, which is this guy here, close icon. So what I will do here, I will just copy this my method and remove this on click. Okay, let's check if it will still be working. You see, it's not closing it again. Alright, so let's go back now to our jQuery. So whenever that particular button is clicked, you want our program to run one particular method. That will be your $, brackets, then sorry, I think our class name there is what is icon menu. Okay, this is icon menu, close icon rather, close icon. So now you come back to your query selector here and write close icon. Alright, after this guy here, then you know you are actually using click event. So you write click and you write inside this guy here. Now you now write your callback function, arrow function. Then I hope you notice the way I'm writing my arrow function here. This bracket, this sign, then your bracket, curly bracket here. Then inside this guy here now, you put the function you want to run into it, and the function is this guy here. So let's save it. And when I'm running it, I want this guy to show again. So I want to run another jQuery inside this guy here. I will select this class and I'll call the jQuery method show so that it can display it again. Alright, you can see that it has disappeared, it's back, and what I'm able to use that button to close it. Are we still together? Hello? Alright, so we can see that it's easier to use this jQuery than writing a lot of CS, a lot of JavaScript on your own. Alright, now another thing you can also do is that you can use this jQuery to add. Okay, let me just use this fade in, and let me do this fade in and fade out for us. How do we want this? Now when you look at our menu here, the guy just come out and go out when we click on it again. What if you want this guy to just fade in? Like it should just come out a little bit and fade out as in slowly. So how do we do that? So we can just come here. Let's look at the ideal class that controls that. Sorry, I think this the guy here, mobile links here, that's the ID. So we can now go back to our jQuery here. So when we click on this guy and the thing shows, we want the guy to fade in. Our query selector here, I think it's ID, so I will use this guy. Anyway, okay, mobile links, then dot fading. Now when I over on this method, you can actually pass another parameters to this method, like the duration, how you want the fading to take, at the time, how long you want the fading to take to fade in, and the same thing for fade out. So let's just test this guy out first. You can see that when the guy is fading out. Okay, I think I'm using the wrong. Let me use fade out for that one to come out. Then I will use fade in when you are clicking out, which will be here. Can you see that? I'm using fade out. That's why the thing just fading out directly. Alright, let me just change this guy back to the way it is. Out, and where is this guy? In. I'm coming. Can I see that? But no content, because our property to display the content I've actually commented it out. So I'll remove it. The guy is not running now. Alright, let's do something. We'll not call this method at all. We'll use our fading out method. Can you see that? Fading. Now the reason why this guy is not showing our menu very well is because in our CSS we've already declared our what's it called, our width to be certain length. So I will remove that. Let me check it out. Mobile links. Not here. Okay, mobile menu with 70. Okay, you can see that we declare left to be minus 300 pixel. We'll remove it, and let's check it out again. It should be working fine now. My 0. Can you see that? The way it's just fading. Okay. Let's go back to our CSS. We have some CSS property that is affecting. Alright, I think I've gotten it. So what is affecting that fade in and fade out is because we are still using toggle menu here. We don't need this guy again. Okay, I think this is all we need. Fade in. Click this guy to fade out. Can you see that? Fade in, fade out. Now one beautiful thing about this thing is this. Imagine all these function we wrote here now, toggle menu and all this logic we've written here now. We don't even need it. All we need is just what? To use this method, mobile links.fade in, mobile links.fade out. And if you don't want to be using all this fade in and fade out, you can as well use show or hide. So in this case now I can use show for this guy here, which will show it, and here I will use hide for it to hide our, sorry, I haven't saved it. Can you see that? Can you see that? So now, which means that what is easier to use jQuery than writing your whole JavaScript alone. Which means that with this method now, I can remove all these method I have written here. Toggle, we don't need it. Okay, any other one we don't need later, I will still remove it. So it saves you a lot of stress writing a lot of code to get a particular thing. So you don't really need to be stressing yourself getting many things done. You can just use your show or hide, or use your fade in or fade out. Now another thing you can do with this fade in and fade out is this place where I'm using, okay, I want to use a fade in now. Fade in. You can pass the number of seconds you want the fading to take before it disappears. So let's say we pass 1000 to it, which will be, this 1000 actually means 1000 milliseconds and is equivalent to 1 second. And here I'm passing fade out to it. No. This one, fade out, and I'm passing 1000 to it too. So let's see how it works. Can you see that? The same way. Now if you want to increase the time for the thing to fade in and fade out, you can just pass, like, let's say I pass 3 seconds to this guy here and 3 seconds to this guy here. So let's see the effect. You can see that. So it actually takes time to fade in and fade out. Mind you, it's not only for navbar. You can use it on any element at all. even you can use it on this one that is showing yellow here. Let's see how we can do that. We'll call this guy here. I'll make this guy to fade in whenever the page is loaded. So I'm actually outside this click function now. Once the page load, I want the guy to fade in. And I'm passing 2000. That will be 2 seconds to fade in. So any problem? There is a problem somewhere. Any problem? The guy is showing an error here. What's the error? 2000. I don't see any error right here. Now this guy is throwing error here. Why is he throwing error? I didn't expect it to actually be throwing error here. Let me check it out. Fade in, but it's not working. So it's actually expecting us to put this guy here in a method, and that method we can just use arrow function as a method here. So it will just run this guy directly. This guy no one work. Alright, I get many options. Function feed header, and I'm running my header. Okay. I'm actually looking at what is causing this error we are getting here, because I'm not expecting any error here. Are we still together, please? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Normally this document does okay, fine. Copying this guy out here. So I'll put it outside there. So I'm declaring this guy here, which will be feed header. We are not seeing the effect because the page is not yet fully loaded. We'll not waste time on this guy if this guy failed to respond now. Okay, this guy is not responding to our feeding events. Let's just leave it for now and move forward. Alright, another thing you can do with this JQuery method is slide down, slide up, slide left, and slide right. So let's see how we can quickly achieve that. So I'll be writing some code below here. I'll call this guy initiation. And I'll have a div. What can I call it? Drop down. And I'll have my header tag. This is to show slide animation. Okay, and after that I have my button, then I have my ID, copy 10, click to slide, then I have my content with my ID, and that will be slide content. Okay, just put okay. Okay, this is it here. Let me just apply some styling to it. Header content drop down. Okay, and padding to px, then drop down. I just want to create a space around that div. That's what I want to do. Okay, this is what I want to do. Alright, so we want to see when we click on this guy how this guy will drop down, slide down rather. So now I will go to our jQuery. Now what's the class name? Here we have drop down btn slide content, while the click event will be on this button here. So let's go down. So we want to add another one to this guy here. You can put it anywhere in your ready function. So alright, so our class is our ID is btn. Then when it is click, what do you want this guy to do? We pass our arrow function to it to run this function, and inside our arrow function we call another jQuery to tell it what to do, and this will be what's the class name again? Okay, slide content. That will be dots. Then you slide. You can see slide down, slide up. So I want to use slide down now. And you can pass time to it, the duration you want the slide to take. So, but for now, let's just run this guy. I'm coming. I'll first hide it, and that will be. I'll copy this guy. Or better still, let me use CSS to hide it. Drop down dot slide content. No, we are having error in this code. Where is the error coming from? Where is the error coming from?
Is it because of the semicolon after the slide down bracket?
Where is that?
Added this one.
I'm coming. I'm seeing an error here, and we shouldn't be having an error. Okay, I think I know what is causing the error. All this guy we put inside the get element by when document ready, we remove it. Where is the end of the stuff? Anyway, where is the end of it? Does that guy even have a closing tag? No closing tag here. It shouldn't be here. I'm coming. Let me close this guy. Why we're having that error is just because we didn't put it in a function. Let me close it. Okay. Then declare its own arrow function. Then inside this arrow function, you can now put all those guys. It should be working now. Do you still have error? So what is the error now? The same thing. So where is this error coming from? Something is wrong somewhere. Which one? Oh, I found it. That guy is closing the stuff, so there are a lot of unclosed tag. Let me format it. Just wait a bit till the formatting will be done. So the thing should work now anyway. Why is it not working? I'm coming. Let me go back to slide content. Oh, it's an ID. Let me make it a class. Okay. Can you see that? Let me refresh the page again. So when I click on this guy, it will slide down. So you can see the way the thing slide down. Let me add background color to it so that we will see it. Then the reason why we're having issue with our jQuery, I will show us that later. I'm coming. Let me add background color to this guy. Background color. Made it blue. You can see the way the thing slide down. All right. Let's go back to our jQuery code. My goodness. So now, when you declare your document.ready method, I will replicate it down here. This guy is not inside it. So when you are declaring your document already, excuse me, sorry. Dot ready. Then inside this bracket, you declare a function. You can either put this type of function or you write an arrow function. It's the same thing. Just write something like this. It's the same thing. And any other code you want to be putting inside this guy, you put inside this function here, and everything will be running perfectly. Even the other one we wanted to do the other time should work now inside this guy. Let me try it again. That feeding stuff we wanted to do that wasn't working, we can still run it inside this guy. Where is it? Add content. So this our add content that doesn't work the other time should work now. Feed in. All right. So now let's check. Let me add time to our feeding. The feeding is not working as we want it to be working. Feeding is not working yet. When it knows, it should work. It's not affecting that guy. The guy just coming out directly. Okay, let's just leave this guy for now. So there are other functions you can also take advantage of, like this one. Now I did what, slide up and slide down, so I can apply slide up to it and we'll see how it will work. Where is it, guys? Slide on button, click, slide. Okay, content. Okay, slide down. Now I will apply slide up. This slide up is not working. Why is this guy not working? Come please. Coming, let me apply another method to this guy. See, it's the same method, and I don't know why this guy is not running out. Slide down. Slide down is working. So what happened to slide up? Sorry, I'm coming. Okay, now I think the reason why the guy is not working is this. Let me change add color to this guy. So the reason why it was not working, the slide down will slide any hidden element out and slide it from top to bottom, while the slide up will fade out, like slide out any open element. Take for example, now we have our, where is it? Okay, we have it here to be displayed now, and here I want to remove this display now so that it will just display directly. Now you can see that what is displayed. So if I click on this guy, it will not work because what I'm calling now is slide down. I've already displayed it, so it won't work. So now if I change this guy to slide up, now it will work. You can see the way it's close it. So that's what slide up does. So now, so which means that the slide down, slide up, fade in, fade out is just another animated way you can use to hide your element or close or hide your element or show your elements. So that's what slide up, slide down, fade in, fade out, show, hide. That's what they actually does. And if you want to append another HTML element to your code, okay, take for example like this click. Now when you click on this guy, I want to append another element to it. Let me call it there's this method called append. You see that append? So this append, now you can write your HTML tag. Let me say p, and okay, no, let me use each so that it will be more glaring. And this is another tag, h1. How is it together, please? You can see that when I click on it, it appends this guy to what, to this element. Now we have different way of appending another element or adding element to your page. You can either use append. Come in, let me write it for us here. A minute, please. So you can either use append, prepend, no, and after, no, before. So these 4 elements you can use it to add. Sorry, some people want to join. Oh, sorry. So you can use any of those 4 elements to add another element to your code, like another tag. Let me just make it blunt that way. So if you want another tag to add it to your code, so now what we want to do here, now we want to check the difference between this method. Here I use append. Now let me use after, and let's see what happens. So we'll refresh the page, and let me click on it. Nothing is happening. Okay, let me use before. Let's click on this guy. Is there anything? Did anybody see anything there?
No.
Nothing is happening. Okay. Alright, let me it should be working, but let me add another button to it. When you click on this button, we append to this guy. Okay, let me append it to this btn there. We have btn, slide content, and drop down. But it knows this guy should work, but since it's not working, let's try adding it to another thing. Drop down. Let's see what's wrong here. Reference append is not defined. Where are we using append? Cannot read property of no. Reading a different listener. Where? Which property is not here? I'm coming, please. Append is not defined. Is this not up? Okay. I will soon switch to the API so that we can quickly run the API, and while you go back later and check this and one. None of these guys even working again. Sorry, give me some seconds to look at this thing to see what is wrong. On click, when this guy is click, then it should run this guy for us. Yes. So what's not the sorry, pardon me. This guy that I wrote here, they're actually not they are introducing error to our code, and that's why the thing was showing us append here. The append is not defined. I'm sorry, I should have commented this part out. That's why the thing was not working. I'm sorry about that. Alright, let's check again. Okay, it's working. Now go back, change this guy to before. Can you see the way it appeared now? But when you look at the way this before appeared, it's not showing inside the slide content element. It's showing outside it. All right, so let's check again. Canary property of now, where is that? 169. So that's not our business. Okay, now let's use after and also see how it happens, how it appears. Click, it shows after this slide content element. So now let's use prepend. You see, it shows inside the slide element content. Now let's try and inspect the page. You can see div, slide content, and what we just added. Now this is another tag we just added. Okay, let me change this back to append, and let's check that out. Now before we check it out, we just have slide content here and this all. Now let's click. Can you see what it has updated with a new content here? While when we're using after and before, we have it outside the element. And let's inspect it. Okay, you can see it's outside this slide content class. Outside now. So by now you know how to use after, feed in, append in your code. You know that when you are using prepend and append, it will just inject it before your content or after your content, but inside the selected element. But if you want to actually append it, let's say you want to inject that element before the selected element, then that's when you use before. Then if you want to inject it after the selected element, that's when you use after. But if it is inside the selected element, now you can either use prepend or append. Excuse me. So that's how to use this append, prepend, after and before method. So the other interesting one we're actually going to tonight is how you can actually connect with API, and that method is permits me to remove some things here. They are actually looking clumsy to me. I don't know. Okay, let me just clear this guy here. Do we need this guy now? We don't need it. I don't need this guy. I don't need this guy. All these guys, they are looking clumsy. Sorry, let me just remove that. This gap is too much. Okay, all right, so now the next one we want to do now, wait, this one is for which one? Okay, so I'll prefer this guy, they're actually together like this, so I will know that this is for my document already, and this for this one now. Okay, now so the one we want to do with is this function get method, post method, load method. So these three methods, they're actually the method you use to communicate with your backend service, which is your API. And to use this one, I would like us to create a form page. Now mind you, I've started running my server since. Okay, I've not started. Let me just run this backend service now. npm run that. I've already installed my dependencies, and that's why you are seeing you node module here. All right, so the service is running, should be running now. Okay, it's still, I don't know why it's not yet running. Maybe it's still connecting with it's connecting with database. Okay, the service has started. You can see now employee start, so it has started. So how do I connect with this endpoint now? Mind you, I've declared my endpoint here. You can see API route, endpoint, employee endpoint. This for the user, this for the normal employee. And what data do I need to even? Okay, the first thing I want to do now is to get, like I want to see all the user. So I have to call this endpoint now API user. That be successfully connected. So I'll call this guy. Then this guy is running on localhost. So and the port is 5100. I'm using localhost for it, so I'll just come here, write it localhost, then the port is 5100, then the API link is API user, and the method to use here is get. So let me check. Okay, now you can see this result here. These are the people that have registered as user when I was testing it. You can see them: ID, name, email, and password. You see them. Now let me save this guy here. Get user. Sample API. Alright, so I want to create another one now. Another one I want to create will now be a post request. That will be post. Sorry, how am I typing? I want to copy this endpoint, and this one I will change the method to post. And let's check the API endpoint for posting to that. So I have API user sign up. So I have to copy this guy together. It will be user / sign up. And what is this guy expecting? If I want to send data to this guy now, there is a format I have to send. I can send through the body. I can send the plain text. But what I just want to do now is to send the data through the body. So I'll go to my body here. How many data is even expecting? Let's check out API. Normally when you are developing your client, you won't see what the backend side looks like. The only thing the guy will give to you, what they will give to you, is just this endpoint here, and they will tell you the parameters you can send to that endpoint. So you won't actually see how the backend is written. Okay, get user login sign up. Okay, so sign up. How many data am I even looking for? Did I even declare schema? Let me get my schema. Database. Okay, so this is the database schema now. Employee schema. We have first name, last name, email, gender, and salary. But for the user registration, we just need name, email, and password. Okay, so those are the things needed. So I'll come to my body here, and inside my body I will select raw. Then inside this text here I will change to JSON because the type of file I'm sending is JSON file. So I'll now write name. Let me use name. Let me use Fatima big. I don't know if she's big. Then let me use email to be Fatima biggie@gmail.com. Then my password, I want it to be pass 1 2 3. So this is the user data I want to send now, and let's check it out. Correct. Now something is wrong here. What is wrong? False. Status false. This is the response now. Invalid username and password. False. Your password must at least 8 characters. This error message is funny. Alright, let's I said it must be at least 8 characters. Pass 1 2 3, that's 7. So it should be 8 now. Let me run it again. Okay, very good. The status is what? True. It has successfully created this user for us now. User account created successfully. Now let's try and get the number of those registered users again and see if we will find Fatima there. You can see this Fatima here. So which means that we successfully register Fatima. Okay. Now let's go back to our work here. We'll create a form page. Let me comment this guy out first. I think we have one form page created somewhere. Where do we have that guy? Okay, let's just create another one. Sorry, I wish it together. Am I too fast? Hope I'm not too fast. Form, and I will have my inputs. Okay, let me start with label. Oh, input. Jesus, like that. Inputs and text. Placeholder. Full name. Then I have another input, which is email type. Then placeholder. example@gmail.com. Then I have another one, inputs. Then we have password. Anyway, password. Then we have, I think we have something like we've created before, but this one I don't want to be reinventing the way. Just copy that. Bootstrap tutorial. Maybe this. Sorry, I just want to copy that form. No. A minute, please. Okay, someone remind us the file we used to do that. It can be this. About twin. No. No, not there. One page. Okay, this is it. Form session. So that we can just apply our JavaScript method, form validation to it directly. So let me go back and copy the CSS. Okay, what's the CSS for this guy? Okay, that's what we are using already. Okay, let's just save this page and check it out. Okay, we have our form full name, password. Okay, remain email. I'll just add email to it. This guy we have inputs, email, and email. Then the placeholder, that's example@gmail.com. Okay, so another best way of designing your form is always good to add a label to it. Just that I choose not to do that initially. Full name, and then for the anyway, this one shouldn't be here. For this guy, label, email, then here we have label, password 1, and password Then here is second password. This is second password. Sorry. Label. Now your label, these four inside your label should be pointing to your ID name, and this one will be ID-2. Why this one now is not correct is not the same thing as, so it should be the same thing with the ID. So always ensure that for here is the same thing as the name is the same thing as the name. All right, so let me write confirm password. What I'm doing now is just a good user experience stuff. All right, so let's go to our CSS and correct that guy form. Okay, from label and align self, that will be baseline, justify self, that will be flex start. Sorry, flex start is actually by the left, so check it out. All right, so another thing I want to do now is to give it a padding or margin. Margin left, let me say 50px. Too much. 45. Okay, let's just manage this guy. Full name, email, password, and confirm password. So we get our name from here, we get our email from here, and get our password from there. So now here I will now put my, okay, let's go to our jQuery to write the function that will get those details. So in my jQuery here, I will get those values. And how do I get those values? I'll declare variable now. I can actually declare it outside of this document already of a thing if I want, and I can also declare it here. So let's look for our button. Where is the submit button? This is our submit button, and the ID is submit btn. All right, so I'll now come down to my jQuery here, then select that particular button. That's submit btn. When we click on it, what do you want? So what we want when we click on it is that we want to get the value, the name, and that will be, and what's the ID of that name, of that input? We have name, that's for our input for the name, and use var. So this var, we actually get the value of that input and what, and return it to our variable name here. Do you get that? So then yes, after that we'll get the other ones, which will be email. Sorry, someone wanted to join. Okay. So email will now be email. Mind you, the email, the ID we use there is email. That's why I'm using it directly here. Then I'll get the value. Then for password, let password equals to password. Someone's mic is on. Okay, thank you. All right, now, and after that I want to log it to see if the value the values are actually there. My form data, then name, email, password. Alright, let's check it out now. John, Mark, password 12345. So let's check our log. Okay, we got it. The only one we not get here is the password, which is showing undefined. So why is it not working? Now let's go back to, now we also have one error message. Don't ignore your error message. Get name input keys is not defined. On key up is not defined. Alright, now remember that we actually wrote one particular function for our input for our form the other time. So I'll go back and copy those method, especially the one for the validation of the input. Where is it? Get input keys. Okay, so that's not what I'm looking for. Get input keys. Okay, this is it. Here we, why is this closing tag? Alright, so come back here and paste it. Just go down. I want to copy it and paste here. Alright, so you can see the method we used the other time to get our name, password, and the password 1, password 2, and the name. We use get element by ID, but now in jQuery we are not using this method again. So what I'll just do now, I'll copy this guy here. This is what I need. Let me delete again. Then I'll go back to our code. I'll paste it here now. So now we still need to get one more field. That's our password 2. That's confirm password. So I'll call it password 2, and this guy is Ivan. Alright, so now we got undefined for our password the other time. So let's check again why the thing's on. Okay, ID is password. So why is it that this thing gave us undefined? Alright, can someone tell us why our password variable is giving us? I've seen the error, but I want someone to actually help us out with the error. Hello, are we there?
Yes, sir.
So someone should tell us what is wrong in our code. Yeah, something is wrong here. Just tell us. Are we selecting the right selector? Are we using the right selector in our jQuery? Is that? We need what? I can't hear the person. Alright, what is actually wrong here is because we didn't prepend it with hash key, because you are selecting ID, not tag. We don't have any tag that is called password. So the other one we did earlier, just like you are selecting a tag because it doesn't have dot or hashtag. So that was why the thing was showing undefined. So here we compare to know if the password match, and if the password doesn't match, we show this error. But if the password match, then we continue to post our form to the backend server. Alright, so I will remove this guy. Then there's another function we wrote last week that we used to validate a form field should in case of any spacing, unnecessary spacing. Let me see if we still have it. Your name. Come please. Where is the guy? Where is it? Okay, I think is this one here. I think this is it. But we don't even need it. We don't need it. So let's just continue with what we are doing here. Alright, so we know that by this we'll get our values, and this console log now will now be inside the s. That's if the password is correct, is the same thing. So let's refresh it. So now let me put John Ye who's this name is another thing, Abdul user, then Abdul at gmail.com, then password 234, submit. You can see password not match, but this guy is still complaining of a method we used the other time. I'll go and remove it. Let me remove it here now. What it's telling us is that we are actually calling a method that we don't define, and we are not even using it again. That's our gets. Okay, on key up, this guy we don't need it again. It's not defined. So do you have any other one there? I think that's all. Change. Okay, this is it. On change, get name input keys. We are not using this guy again. All right. Let me just save it. Let me continue with this one now. So the password is not match. So what is even the password there? I don't know. So let me just put. Let me clear this one again. Password. Submit. Okay, the password match, and that's why we are having a what? This password there. This is what I type in. Okay, now let's connect it to our backend server. Mind you, this is our backend server here, and we are running at what? At this port locals 5100. So to post, we have to use this endpoint here. So I'll copy this endpoint and go to our page here. Then inside this s, I will now post it. So it will now be so what is the submit btn button? I'm coming. I'm coming, please. So I'll now put call our method post. The other time I actually told us that we can use get, post, and load method to interact with our backend server, and that's what I'm doing now. So now we want to use post method. Now the difference between post method and get method is this: when you are using get method is not safe. Anybody can see any data you are sending to the backend when you are using get method. While when you are using post method, it add a little bit of security to your form data. We'll see the difference now. So post. So the first thing you put in your post method, you can see when I hover on it, is what is the endpoint, which is your URL to that backend server. Then the next one is the data you are posting to that backend server. Then the last one here, which is the third parameter you are passing to it, is your header options. Now I will be explaining that. So the first thing now is our backend server, which is what? Localhost 500 API user sign up. Okay, now then after that, our data. Mind you, when you look at the way I structure my data here, I'm actually using this method called JSON format. So the same method I also use there. So I will now come to this place now. I can call it let's form data, call it anything. Then you declare your method. I believe everybody should remember that now. Now, how do I send this data to the backend? What is the backend expecting? When we go back to our schema as a backend developer now, it will tell us that to sign up you need to send name, email and password to me, and this is what I'll be expecting from the front end. And that is the reason why when I want to create this user here, I just create name, email and password. So the same thing you have to do here. So the backend developer will give you what you expect in your form. So the first one is name, and what's name now? This is our name here now, so we just copy it and put it here. Mind you, this name and this name are not the same thing. No? Okay, let me just change this one to another thing. User name, so that you know that it's not the same thing. The user name. So this first name here is the key, is the object key to hold our username. Then the next one is email. That's the object key email. Then we pass our email variable. This guy here, this is it here. Let me just put this one in a string so that you will not confuse it. Like think it will be the same thing. This is actually just a key name. So now the next one is password, and we put our password here into this guy. But mind you, if you write this form data here now, it means that what you'll be putting wrong password here if the two password here doesn't match. So it's better you just copy this guy and do it here inside there, so that you know that by the time you are getting to this block code here, you've already validated your password and you know that what your password is correct. So you don't need to trouble yourself with this form data here. You know that everything you are putting here is actually correct. The other validation you can do, you can check if this username is not empty, if it is not null. The same thing with email. I believe by now you know how to do that. To do that, you can simply do something like this. Just put as if, then you put your name. Now I want to validate username now if it is not empty. Username, if username is not empty and username is not null. Now this null here we care for both null and undefined type. So if this guy is equal to this, or sorry, this one should be or username is equal to null, then it should do something. You can see post the error something like user name is required. So let's check it out, and this one will be our form. I'll comment this guy out because we've not yet completed it. So I won't put anything inside our form here. I'll go ahead and put something in our email and our password. There will be something there. Anyway, password not match. Okay, let me correct this. 1 2 3 4, and this guy 1 2 3 4. You can see username is required. You can see the way the guy is giving us what those error because I've not actually typed my name. Alright, so let's go back to our jQuery now and continue. So this is my endpoint now, the endpoint URL. Then after that, I will now put this form data. Now I've already formatted it. I've already put it in a variable called form data here. Then you just put your variable here, form data, and with this you are good to go. You can send it to the server. But another thing you have to note is this post method is actually a promise. What is called promise in programming or JavaScript is that a method that you have to wait for to get the, as in it will run you what you ask it to do, it will perform what you ask it to do, then after that it will return the result or response back to you after a while, and that's a while you don't know how long it can take. Hello, are we together?
Yes.
So you don't know how long it can take, so that's why you have to pass your callback functions to it to see the return method. Okay, so the next function here now will be that callback function. What we call callback is a function that you use to get a response. Like after it is done executing all what you ask it to do here, then it should call this method, and this method now just pass something to it like this, a parameter data. So this data will be, let me just put in the normal word, response. So this will be the server response. Now I want to know what the server is giving us as our response data. So let's just log it. Server response. Then I'll put the response variable here. Okay, let's check it out. So let me put another name here. Okay, Abdul, and user, and then abdul@gmail.com, then password 123 sorry 1234 1234. You can see everything is actually right here. So we have an issue here. What's the issue? Access to this guy here from origin now has been blocked by course policy. Cross origin requests are only supported by protocol HTTP. Okay, what is actually wrong here is because I didn't start this my URL with HTTP word. So this is what it's expecting, and because it's localhost, it should be normal HTTP, not HTTPS. Alright, let's go back and run it again. Oh, how to refresh the page. Abdul, so then abdul@gmail.com, then 1234 1234. We got an error. What's the error again? From original has been blocked by course policy. No access control allow origin header is present on the request source. Then bad request. Okay, I'm coming. HTTPS. Alright, let's change that. I don't want to disturb myself with writing. Okay, I think I added 5 to it. So we are seeing an error here. So this is one of the error you'll be encountering as a front-end developer. You might want to send something to backend, and backend will be returning an error. And the error we're actually having, I understand the error is actually course origin error. So now, how do we undo that? Let me see my code here if I actually undo that. Course origin. Is there anything like that here? Oh, I didn't undo that. Okay, so let me quickly update this backend service to do that. It's not your fault from the front end if you are designing something like that and you are seeing course origin. Most time it's not your fault. So it's actually backend issue. So I'll fix it here now. Let me install one particular library. npm install course. So once I install this library, I will implement it, and after then we shouldn't be having issue with the course origin again. Okay, it's done. Let me constant require course. Alright, then come down app.use course. Okay, so by this I expect it to stop. Run the server again. Okay, our server is up, so let's try and connect again. Sorry, are we still together? Anybody
Yes.
there? All right. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. This guy connected to the database. Oh, he's here to connect. Okay, it has connected to the database. Submit. So we are having an error, but what's this error about? We have 400 bad requests. So why bad requests here? Why bad requests? Now you can see that we don't have that course origin issue again. So our problem is actually from somewhere. Let's check again. We have localhost 5000 API user sign up, name, email, password. Okay, so which means that this guy is not actually capturing the response. It's not capturing this response. I'm coming. Why is he not capturing our response here? Okay, let me add the status data to it. So that we can both check. HTTP localhost 5100 API user. It should work. One, two, three, four. 1 2 3 4. Okay, let me try and put a normal password. Password 1 2 3 4. Password 1 2 3 4. Alright, can you see the response? Now the reason why we're getting this error, the error is actually from the server showing that what the kind of data we are sending is not correct. But why we are getting that type of error is because of the way the backend server is actually written, and that's why we are not getting the right response. And now there's another way to even track your error. That's when you go to this network tab. So when you go to this network tab, you can see the failed attempt we made here. Click on it and go to response. You can see the response. The response is what? Invalid username and password. Can you see that? User password must be at least 8 to character, and your password must be at least 8 to character or anything like that. So this is the error that the thing was returning to us. That time we're getting this error message here, but in our code here we didn't catch the error, and that's why the thing was not showing. Is that clear? Hello, are we together?
Hello, sir.
All right. So now, but because we've successfully created the user, and we got this response, server response, which is what this, and the status is what? Sources. So let's check it out. Email, name, password, it has been created, and this is the ID of that particular user account created successfully. So let's try and create another user here. So let me say someone should give us a name, please. Give us a name.
Aderemi Dauda.
Aderemi. Let me use calculator. Aderemi Dauda. Okay. Email. aderemi@gmail.com. Password. What password should we use? Hello. What type of password should we use? I'm waiting on. Okay. So Aderemi.
Yes.
1 2 3
1 2 3 4. Aderemi 1 2 3 4. Can you see that it has what successfully been created? Let's go to our postman and fetch all the created user and see if the name will be there. You can see it has created the user successfully. This is one I created earlier. Can you see that? So this is how you connect your front end to the back end. All what you need is just your endpoint, and the endpoint is this one here. This is what we call endpoint, the URL to send your data to, and this is the data we are sending here. This is the data we are sending to this endpoint, and we have another callback method here, which is arrow function here, with two parameters, response and status. And our status is this response status. So you can access anything returned inside this response and status. When you look at it again here, we have here server response. This return an object. So the object is, if you want to access the name now again, you just do that response.data.name. If just the status you want to return, that will be response.data.status. So that's how you access the response data. Okay, let me practice out. Let me just show us how to do that. Response.data, and this guy here, we want to display the name of the user. Alert. Sorry, and write. Let me write the name first. Response.data.name. So plus Aderemi has been successfully registered. Okay. User account created successfully. Okay, let me just refresh this page again and try to create it again. Let me use another one. Adeyemi Martins and matt@gmail.com. Then we have password to be ademat1234. ademat1234. Submit. Can you see that Adeyemi Martins has been successfully registered? So you can access all this data as the data is returned back to you. All right, I believe by now we know how to access. Now another one is that if you want to get all this data that we've been registering, I usually come to this guy here, what's it called, postman, to get all those data. You can also copy this endpoint here to get those data. So I'll create a method here now and a button, and the button will be load get users. So I will now come to this place. Sorry, let me go to our HTML page here. Then at the top here, before the form, I will now create a button, and the button should be gets registered users. Then ID should be get user. All right, so whenever we click on that button, we want the guy to return all the registered users back to us. So we use our query selector, JQuery selector here, and that will be, we use an ID. What's the name of that guy again? Sorry, excuse me. What's the name of the ID again? We have it to be get user. Thank you. Okay, Then after that, we'll click on it. What should happen? Then we have our arrow function here. Then our get method. So our get method, we have dot get. Now the other one I use dot post. So this one is dot get. So just put your endpoint to this place. Mind you always have to add HTTP to it. That's if you are using local host. If you are using normal standard endpoint, you use HTTPS. So now your callback method here. Now we are not, now you don't use get method to send data to the backend server. You use post method, and that's why in this method, when you look at these parameters here, you only have what? Sources, parameters, and that's all the data you have there. Okay, now so let's check it out. So inside our return method there, you get your data and your status. Okay, so let's log it, the return, the response. We want to log the response. Say server response, and we'll put the data here. Hello, are we still together?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so I'll refresh page. Oh, this our button is not looking good here. Alright, let me just take it to another place. Where's the guy? I don't know, I don't like the way it's appearing there. Let me put it inside our form here. It will not do anything. Okay. Alright, so these are button here now. I'll click on it. Anyway, what is wrong here? Something is wrong. Okay. Save. So ID gets user. Did I have any other? No, I don't have any other ID like that again. So when you click on get user, is it the same thing? Okay, it's the same thing. Get user dot click, then run this guy for us. Get. Okay, I think it's correct. The reason why that guy is running that way is because you put inside a form. I don't want to put it outside the form. Okay, let me just put it outside the form. Let me add, I don't know if you have that CSS here. Deflex. Okay, it's not here. I'm coming, let me add another. Okay. Display flex and justify center align center. Okay, our button should be at the center now. Anyway, it don't spoil the whole thing for us. So okay. What's the form name here? Form area. Sorry. Okay. All right. So I guess the guy is outside our form now. What's happening? We've not saved it. Okay, so that's our form. Still at the side. All right. So I'll be clicking on it now. You can see now when I click on it, it returns all the user. So we have 9 users that have registered now. So let's check again. Let's add another user here. Let me use Lucky. Lucky what? Lucky what? Hello. I guess the guy is not there. Lucky. Lucky Abbas. Okay, I'm not hearing you. That's why. Lucky at gmail.com and password lucky1234. Lucky1234. Submit. Lucky Abbas has been successfully registered. You can see that. So let's get the register user again. You can see what? It has turned to what? 10 users. So we have 10 registered users. You can see their data here now. So now, as a front-end developer now, you will now know how to access each user here. And if you want to display each user on this page, it's easier to display them. Alright, how do I display each user on my page here now? I'll go to my page here and I will create. Okay, let me create another session here. So I'll call this guy users. Excuse me. And inside this user, I will append their details. So I'll go down. I have another class. Let me just define a class so that it will show their details very well. Dot user users display system is slow. Display flex. Then justify. No. Okay, center. Outline item. Flex. Start. Column. Alright. Then each user now. The data for each user. User. Our time is fast spent. Padding 20px. Then background color F3 F7 F7. Alright, then border should be 1px solid, then cc. Alright, so inside my user I will be displaying those data there. Let's go back here. So we have our user here, so we will append each user data into it. Remember our jQuery method. So select it users, that's dot users because it's a class. Then after that we want to append. So append will now be, now remember here the data returned here is an array and the array is 10, which means that we have to loop through our array. So to loop through your array, you can either use for each method or our normal for loop. Now for is actually faster than for each method, so most time I prefer using for if there's nothing special I want to do. Oh my goodness. So I will copy this guy here and write my for. Look, let's just use for each. Yes, for each. It will help us. So these are for each method. Oh, let me write it out for you so that you not get confused. So what is our array of data? Our array of data is this data here now, and our data return another keyword which is data also inside it. Can you see under data? So which means that to access it, I'll write data dot data, and in order not to confuse ourselves, I can change this guy here to response. Then you can use anything. You can use even res as your variable, so as a parameter rather. So I'm using response as my parameter. So here now I will now write response dot data. Now I know that this data here in our code here is an array. You can see it is an array. So I want to access each one here, and each array element here or value here is actually an object. So which means that I have to be accessing the object one after the other. So for each we actually help us with that. So dots, we now call that for each method now. No, I just want to complete it. So these are for each method. So inside this for each method now, you now put your arrow function. So your arrow function now, you can now put a parameter. You can call it anything. I decided to call it user or user data, any parameter you want. Then inside this guy here now, we want to now use our JQuery append method now, so that it will be appending it to that class we've already created there. So now, how do we want it to look like? Let me write my HTML out here. So I will now write how do I want to make it look like? Tag. Let me just call it anything. Tag. That tag is just a variable I just declare on my own. So now I will use my backtick method for my template. That's template string using backtick. Then I will now write my tag here. So my tag will now be div, and the class will be user. Mind you, you've already declared. Just write it the way you are writing your HTML code here. User, and I've closed that tag. Then let me close it here. Alright, so in between our tag here now, I can now put other things. So I want the name to have a2 tag. That's the name. Then the email to have a bold tag or italic. Okay, that's all. I don't need password, just the name. So for this guy now, in between it now, I will now pass my variable. So the variable here now will now be each object inside this array. It will first take the first one, 1, 2, and it will start from this 0. And for this 0 now, the first object has name, email, and password. So I will be passing just name and email to this method here now. So it will now be my user data, which will now hold each object now. That's why we are using for each here. Put it inside dot name. Then for this guy here, you have dot email. So it will run now. Mind you, this is just a variable here. So just copy this variable and put it inside this append method. We can actually write this one directly inside our append, but I think it's much more preferable you just assign it to a variable and you just put your variable inside this append method so that it will be readable. Alright, so let's run our page again. Nice one. So let's click on this get registered users now. Error. What's the error? Response.data.forEach is not a function. Object.sources. Okay, now what's the error? Let's go back. So he said this guy is not a function. Probably the guy is not returning any data to this response. So let's check again. Are we see together, please?
Yes, sir.
Alright, we got our data, and inside this response we have data. Okay, response of data. Okay, so response.data. So D is an array for each. Then each data in array, that will be user data. Then I put user data inside here. User data dot name dot email. Then I think this is okay. What's not wrong? Let me check again. Is seeing something wrong there. Users dot append. Let's check the error message. For each is not a function at object.sources. Excuse me. Okay, let me remove this guy here and just log something inside here. Or better still, let's log that dot data here and see if we get a value, and also the type of it, type of response dot data. comment this guy out. You get it? Oh, sorry. Now look at issue here. There's issue. Let me run it again. So now here I actually log the type of response.data here. Now let's see the type. When I click on this button, you can see the type here is what? Object. Can you see that? Hello.
Yes.
Now the reason why we're having that error before is because we can't use for each method on an object. We can only use it on an array. It's an array method, not object method, and that was the reason why the thing was throwing error. Actually, I was expecting this guy to be an array, because what I'm seeing here is an array, but indirectly the guy is an object. So let's see how we can actually undo that. Why will it be an object and it's turning an array? Something is fishy. 0 1 2 3 is an array. So why is it an object? Okay, let me check. Alright, I'm coming. Let's do something here. Sorry. Okay. But I got it. Oh my goodness. So the guy return it is not acting as okay. So in order not to waste our time, there's another way to go about this guy without using that for each. So we'll just use for loop directly. Our normal for loop. For loop. So this will be high. Alright. Here now will not be response dot data, then put our I inside so that we display each one here. Then we have it here. So this one will now be, instead of user data here, we can even write it, let user data equals to this, so that it will run each one at a time. So where we'll have issue now is this guy, because I will still have to use array. Oh my goodness. Don't worry, let me see if the guy throw error. I'll find a way to undo it. Does the guy try an error? Yeah, it doesn't try an error. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So we successfully load each user into our page. So I can go back to our CSS here and made this guy to have width of 100, let me say 80%, and here we have width to be 100%, and I'll change, okay, this is center. I'll change this guy to center. Then here I'll make it little bit blue. Then yeah, I'll increase it to 2. So let's see how it goes. Okay, let me add margin to it. Margin 10 px. Then let's run it again. I can see there's nothing here. So you can see now it has successfully show all the register users. I've been able to access their name, their email. So using our normal for each method to loop through each value in this response.data, because we have 10 values there. So I have to loop through to get each data. And as I'm looping through each one, I'm appending it to that class called users in our HTML page here. This guy here. Alright, so this is all about using jQuery to connect to your backend server using either post method or get method. And you know that we use get method to get information from the server, and we use our post method to post to send data to our server, which is here now. All right, before we close for tonight, sorry I've taken much of your time. Let me quickly show us some informations that will be beneficial to us. Now there are many what's it called, free APIs